Hey guys, I want to talk a little bit about the ways that I have failed. And this is pretty interesting to me because being candid about my life and my experiences, what I'm gathering and learning, definitely feels like some part of my mission in this life and something I really have to do. I felt that way for a long time. When I gain information that I have to put it out into the world, people have to know. People around me, people in my class, people in the world, whatever, right? And YouTube's probably the broadest way that I can do that. But I'm terrified of it. I'm like really scared, and I've had this love-hate relationship with this kind of sharing method for about 2 years now, where I've really thought of it long and deep, and I have a whole other channel that I use to share things. But I'll do it on this one because like more people can see it. I feel like I'm a failure in certain ways. I think that this realization or this thought has been triggered by me turning 22. And I saw Gabby yesterday, my musician soulmate and best friend, and we've been playing together for over 7 years now. We've known each other for almost 8 years. We really started playing right away. It's like probably played more notes than we said words in our entire lives. And yeah, we started. I was a child, like I was 15 years old, and I was very talented. That's. I guess it's so scary to be honest with other people about your experience because then there's room for them to think, wow, this guy is so full of it. He thinks he's talented, but I do think that I was more talented at 15 than I am now just because I was younger, which is also kind of crazy to think about because age, fuck age. I was very talented. He was 16, 17, I don't know. He was 16. And we're just the most talented kids ever. I really think that, and I admire the fuck out of us. And if I met myself back then, I would really just, I don't know, I would just sit in awe for a little bit. And I'd say, dude, it's okay. You don't have to try so hard because you already have it. Yeah, I think we were really talented kids. And then we played together for a good bit. I really wanted to record music, put it out through high school. Never did it because I wanted it to be a certain way. I wanted it to be kind of perfect, especially my vocals. I felt like I had a lot of improving to do because I wanted to scream a lot, but like I kept losing my voice. So I was like, okay, I have to learn to do this in a healthy way, and I never even attempted to do that. I don't want to talk about the road that separates that moment from now, but when you just take the snapshot of what's happening now, it's like now we both live at the other end of the country, an hour away from each other, and we don't make very much music anymore together and even on our own. Because he's studying and I messed up my hands 2 years ago, being very insecure about um, my abilities as a musician. I felt like, oh my god, I'm gonna be 20 years old. I have to be this guitar virtuoso and I have to gain control over my life. I can't just be unorganized and spend my time on the internet. So I started playing 6, 7 hours of guitar a day. That was the goal. But before that, I was playing maybe 25 minutes a day over, 5 years or something, maybe less than that. And that was fine for me because my brain was doing most of the work and I would dream about music and visualize music when I heard it and get inspiration from all sorts of things. And also I played other instruments, bass, keyboards, a tiny bit of drums, and that was enough. Like I was enough and I was good enough. Everyone I knew praised my guitar skills. Ah man, it's so funny. Like I'm definitely insecure because just when I say that, I think so hard and so directly about what what tooting your own horn says about you, but that's not even what I'm doing. I'm just saying other people thought I was good. And I gave people so much joy playing music. And, you know, I had like one bad experience with a guy pretending that I wasn't good at music to hurt me because that was part of his personality. And it really got to me, and it affected the way that I would function musically, and I couldn't jam as easily anymore. It was difficult for me to get back into it, and I just had this crazy idea that I needed to really force it, that I needed to play 6 hours a day. And yeah, in a month, I fucked myself up entirely. I'm gonna say fuck, by the way. I know YouTube is changing their policy on that. I don't fucking care. But yeah, like 22 years old, like what does that really mean? Because, you know, Hendrix didn't start his actual career in England until he was like 22, 23, right? Doesn't mean anything. He's not old by any means, but when I was constructing my musical identity, I guess at 15 and stuff, I was looking at John Frusciante because that was like my idol. And I just kept it inside my head like, oh, he made Blood Sugar Sex Magik when he was 21. And again, completely arbitrary measure because he joined the band when he was, 18? 17, 18? So why 21? I don't know. But Blood Sugar was just so good. And in my head, I was thinking, wow, that's, you know, that's kind of a young age to have such a defined statement. And, you know, that's what I think now. That's not what I thought back in the day. I probably thought back in the day, wow. And that's pretty much all it was. And like, wow. And also, he's 21. And now I'm 22. So I'm, you know, and I never, obviously, it's so funny. Like, obviously, I never had this moment where I did something so influential like Frusciante did, but I don't know. I've never defined my goals really as a musician. It's completely impossible to like emulate what somebody else is doing. And that's not the spirit of Frusciante either, to try to do something like that. The takeaway from what he did on that album was just like, if you watch the documentary about that album called Funky Monks, at the end when he's packing his guitars and he throws his Jags and Strats in the trunk of a truck, he just goes, we've made something that I'm 100% proud of. And that's all. And that's all that matters to him. And so it's like, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter if I play like Hendrix or anything like that. It, you know, if I can say that I'm 100% proud of something the way that Frusciante said it or felt it, then it's the same thing. It's the same concept, and I don't have to compare myself. I think it's extremely toxic for musicians to compare themselves like that. But I couldn't help. I couldn't help it. I was very frustrated by the lack of seriousness. The world felt like it wasn't taking me seriously. It wasn't granting me its attention, and I never asked for it. You know, yesterday I watched some Steve Jobs bit about how, you know, when he was 12, he called up some, I don't even know, like IT guy, and then the guy gave him a job on an assembly line and gave him some spare parts to build a frequency something that he was building, that he wanted to build. And Steve was just like, yeah, I mean, most people, they never pick up the phone to ask for things. And, you know, it's a stupid video from a out of touch guy because he was a genius and he was, you know, he graduated high school at 12 or something. So it's like not the same world. Of course, if you're 12 and you call some CEO saying, hey, I'm building this advanced contraption at a young age, the guy's going to be interested. He's going to give you stuff. But Steve Jobs literally said, nobody's ever said no to me. And that's, you know, even if you do pick up the phone, you're going to get people to say no to you, but you do have to pick up the phone. And I wasn't playing my songs for people. I wasn't putting my songs out there. I had a whole high school of 1,000 people around me, I could have made a YouTube channel and played at the school every lunch. Just like I could have gotten 500 subscribers in a year when I was 15. But I didn't do that, and I didn't complete my work. I didn't start a band. And I didn't have to do any of that. I was more than happy to just jam with Gabby and my other friends. But there was already this kind of hole inside me that was like, I want to be filled with fame. I want to be filled with recognition. I want to be filled with people around me acknowledging what I know about myself, which is that I'm talented. And that's insecurity. That's literally textbook what it is. Because I think I was not convinced that I was talented. I thought that, but there's no measure of talent. Like in a way, I had done tests when I was a younger kid because I was too bored by school because I was smart, and the tests give you like some sort of objective measurement of your smartness, right? So I knew I was smart because I trusted the test. There's nothing like that with music because like even talent shows or things like that, it matters a little bit who wins, but like I've been watching The Voice for a few years, and even though the coaches are supposed to be, I mean the jury's supposed to be voice experts, they miss a lot of things, and you as a audience member is completely free to disagree with the jury, and your opinion is absolutely valid. Like music is just free for all. It's like there's no measure, there's no measurement, and thank God. But yeah, I didn't get the recognition that I thought I deserved, and I was never asking for it. So later on, when I got a little older, it started like registering in my head that, oh, I only have X amount of years until I'm the age that Frusciante was when he made this album. Or later when I was really into Muse, I thought like, oh, by the time I'm 22, that's gonna coincide with when Muse put out Showbiz, and that's one of my favorite albums, and I think a very very strong artistic statement. And I think people prefer Origin of Symmetry, but I don't, because the first album is more personal. It's more raw. Matt literally, he didn't know how to sing very healthily on it, so his voice is completely different from the first album to the second. And it's more raw, it's more live, it's more angsty and stupid and childish. And you hear it in the way the drums are played, especially that these are, kids playing, kind of like Sleep by Slowdive. There's a very good sense of immaturity that can transpire from young drummers, and I like that. It's like punk rock. It's not meant to be polished, and there's no suits telling these guys, oh no, play this one note played differently. Like fuck that. And my mind picks what it compares me to make me the most miserable person ever, because Radiohead, I don't know, they made Creep when they were, fuck that, I mean, they were probably my age now, but it's like when I was a kid, I didn't think about that too much. I mean, OK Computer, they were like 27, and I never go to myself, oh, I still have like 5 years until I'm the age they were when they made OK Computer, so I have a bit of headroom. No, I jump straight to, who am I older than? And that's never going to work, and that's like a musician's worst enemy. So I guess what am I really trying to say here is just don't do that. Like, don't go down the route I did in the first place. Like, my first mistake was having this dichotomy when I was 15 and I did not care. Like, I was not trying to make a living from music. I was not trying to really be seen. I was not trying to complete my songs. I didn't even know where studios were. And the dream of my life was to go to a studio. I had no idea where I could even do that. I never tried to get any info on, the pricing of things, or like try to work up a schedule or talk to people about it. And I probably couldn't have, because the demos, I mean, I found the demos this summer of what I was making back then. It was like my timing was kind of all over the place. I probably couldn't have played to a click very good and things like that. And you don't have to do that when you're 15. But the point is, I wanted to be recognized. But I acted like I was just playing music out of love. And we've talked about that yesterday with Gabby. We were like, but hold on, wait a second. Why? I don't know if I don't know if Gabby has the same kind of feelings of disappointment about music that I do. I don't think it's as extreme for him, but we still try to talk about my feelings, I suppose. So we were like, hold on, why do I feel that way? Why did we make music in the first place? We never cared about a record deal, or playing to big crowds, or putting things on Spotify, or putting things on tape, like these kind of abstract goals that I have now of being seen a certain way. Like, it's always been more important to me to imagine a complete record that people could own a CD of, and put on and listen from A to Z and find on streaming platforms and things like that. That was everything to me. I didn't think too much, and I didn't feel too strongly about playing small clubs and bringing people to tears. I had these grandiose dreams of like playing stadiums and things like that, but that's like, it was always the extreme for me. It was like, I have no band, and I'm gonna be dreaming about filling stadiums and having complete albums. And it's funny because when I was 17 and I was in my second prep class, or 17, 18, I don't know what time of the year it was exactly, I started telling people, because that's when I wrote an album called Kill It that I really, really, really want to record this summer, because it's a teenage album, and I'm gonna be too old. When I wrote this album, I started telling people, hey, there's a couple songs here that I wrote about my crush, and I'm gonna probably go to the studio this weekend to demo it. And then I kept not going to the studio, so I kept writing songs, and I was like, oh, now I have like 8. I'm gonna make an album this summer. And they were like, it was something like that. And they were like, you're not gonna make an album, you're crazy. And they had no argumentation behind it. They were just like, you're not gonna make an album. You're just not gonna make an album. I think because, in their heads, albums have a lot to do with, being successful as an artist, or the commercial aspect of it, or like, you win The Voice and you get to make an album, or you make a lot of money, you make singles and then you make an album. You make videos and then you make an album. You have a deal and then you make an album, but it's not like you're nobody. You have 30 subs on YouTube and you just drop an album. That just couldn't register that, but that's still kind of weird. Just still doesn't sit right with me that they weren't aware of like the whole concept of Bandcamp but Bandcamp and SoundCloud and things like that. It's just to shitpost on main. It's just like people that are nobodies that are dropping albums, because guess what? Musicians like to do that. It's an enjoyable process to craft a piece of work and then to just drop it. So I think it hurt my feelings when they said it hurt my feelings when they said that. And then I myself had kind of forgotten that I already had made an album. And at that time I would excuse that album, which is Cry of the Heart 1. I would say, hey, I have an album, but just so you know, it's not mixed and it's not mastered and it's whatever, and it's only acoustic album, and also I made it in my room, and I made it with bad microphones. Like that means anything. I felt guilty for being myself artistically. I felt guilty for not having a lot of money, for not singing perfectly, for not being my own engineer in a way where no mics would have ever clipped on the album, you know? But it's a fucking album. I already had an album out and I had people telling me, you're not gonna make an album. And what am I talking about? I didn't need those comparisons, you know. Cuz I'm proud of that first album. I just am. I'm going to rewind. So look, the thing is I wanted to be a professional musician right before I got my my trauma, my ear trauma where I started having tinnitus and being sensitive to music and stuff like that, and I continued playing music like a wounded animal. I continued and I held on to it like a drowning man, you know. I had to do it because I was compelled to do it, and that's the way it's been for years. Where um, it's even stronger. It's a it's a more aggressive concept than being ruled by your emotions. It's like inspiration for me was like, and it still is, a sacred force that it doesn't matter if it's 2 a.m. It doesn't matter if I'm out in the snow. It doesn't matter if there's a lesson going on or if I'm at a concert with other music. If I get something, I record something. I take the phone, I sing into it, I write it down, I whatever. And I write a poem or I write numbers that mean, you know, frets on the guitar and things like that. And I have 20,000 of those things. And it has to be that way. And it's always had to be that way. In the same way, as I in the same way that I have to capture my inspiration, even though I had trouble playing music and hearing music because of those hearing sensitivity issues and things like that. If I was with Gabby and we were in a room with instruments, those instruments were being played. If I was, you know, messing around with my friends and we put on a Red Hot Chili Peppers song, I was singing to it, and there was no discussion about it, and that's the way that it had to be, and that's how these years after the trauma I kept playing music. And I just felt also like if I didn't do that, if I tried to control myself too much, then the tinnitus, the hissing in my ears and the hearing loss and everything, they would just win, and I couldn't let them. And I'm glad I did that, but because that was such an animal thing to do and such an instinctive thing to do, I completely lost that other aspect of it that was supposed to be very controlled, which was a career in music. Because even though I played music, I thought I couldn't, because it was like it's exactly like an addiction, you know. I'll explain it. Like the last couple of years, I've had, as I said, like trouble with my hands and stuff. Yet I've operated a computer every single day. Like every day, I turn on my computer and I type stuff and I use a mouse and whatever. And if people would like ask me to do something for them, like, hey, can you help with ordering this online, or can you help me debug the computer or whatever, I would say no, I can't do that because, you know, I can't use computers because of my repeated strain injury in my wrists. So I wouldn't do it when it was conscious, but I would keep doing it out of addiction to fill the void the rest of the time. And so when I was young, that's ridiculous. When I was younger, I kept playing music because I felt forced in a very like good way. I felt, you know, compelled. I loved doing it, so that's why I kept doing it. But I didn't go to music school after high school because when I put it down on paper, when I was trying to think about it rationally, I was like, no, this stresses me out too much because, you know, of my ears, and then I had issues with my voice and this finger and a lot of things. So it's something I did automatically, and I forgot about my dreams of a career in music. So for other musicians that maybe struggle with comparing themselves or want a career or trying to figure out, I know every artist is kind of trying to figure out where the line is, how much they can just do it out of love, versus how much they want their whole life to be about it, so they want to make a living out of it. Um, just set goals. Just like be like, okay, is it my goal to have a career in this, or is it just something I would take if it presented itself, but I can live without it? Like, what is going on, and why do I do it? And what would change if I did it, like if I had to do it more for the money, if I had to make concessions for the money, if I had to listen to suits for the money, you know. Because I didn't listen to myself. I didn't listen to this voice, I guess, saying like, "Hey man, I'm in pain because no one cares about your music." Like, it was really important to me, and I don't think that it was completely selfish of me. I think that other people's music was changing my life, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, John Frusciante, Jeff Buckley, the Beatles, like, they were making me feel such strong things. And I can tell you, I mean, I've had psychedelic experiences now, like actual ones, and I still think that the first time I listened to John Frusciante's Shadows Collide with People was pretty much a psychedelic experience. So I was aware of the in this indescribable, it's not a word, whatever, things you can't describe, aspect of music and how strong it can be. And I was like, I feel the same way about my music. And it's like, it's like going to your kid's talent show. Of course you're gonna think they dance better than the other kids. I don't know where the line is. I don't know where my music really lies in the grand scheme of things. I love it so much because I know exactly what it means. I can tell. I mean, Nobody is. I would be freaked out if anyone ever liked any of my music more than I do, right? Because I was there for all of it. I know exactly what I'm trying to say with it. I remember where I was when I wrote it, and what happened during the recording of it, and who heard it, and I can remember the process of trying to make sense of all these different parts and put these things together, and then the whole journey between that and like an audience ever hearing it is just it's magic. It's the most beautiful thing in the world. Um, so my music's probably not as good as I think it is, but I mean, it is my mission to bring it to people because I still think it's very good. I really do. I think you can tell. And I didn't listen to that. I was just having fun. And that's fine, that's valid, but I never stopped having this dichotomy about it where I just wanted to fuck around. I just wanted to go see Gabby and jam and not even record it sometimes and just have fun. But but the other part of me is the part that wanted to be successful, that wanted to make something out of this. And that's why 80% of our jams have been recorded. That's why I record everything I do all the time. That's why I did go to music school after a few years. When I saw that science was not gonna interest me enough, I did go to music school. And I guess musicians just don't put yourself, don't box yourself in, um, trying to work out who your biggest influence is and trying to do what they do. I mean, I quit pretty quick, but like when I was 15, I was actually trying to be John Frusciante. I have a picture. I'll throw it up there if I find it. It's I was really trying to be him. I was dressing like him, and I was trying to talk like him. I was trying to understand his philosophy, and I played like him. No, it's a complete lie, you know. It's like I'm still comparing myself to these people or, Coldplay and stuff like that. It's like, first of all, I actually have nothing to prove. If I die without the world hearing my music, I'm still a fucking badass. Like, the shit I wrote, I swear to you, dude, you'll never even know if I die before I make it. But it is. There's, like, I wrote, like, 20. Okay, okay, 10. 10 of the songs I've written are masterpieces, at least. And, like, I have, like, 100 other really, really, really fucking good songs. And I have 1,000 okay songs, you know? Like, something like that. And that's crazy. Like, I still suffer from that because I still know that that's true. And I'm still sitting here with my wrists that don't work, talking big words and not being able to walk the walk. Or is it not an excuse? I don't know. But see, that's exactly what I suffer from. That's exactly where I feel I've failed because I shouldn't be just speaking about that. I should be on camera playing instruments, singing, producing for you to hear. That's the way that I feel I've failed. When I look at my biggest influences, they didn't do that. I don't think they did that very much. Like sitting on their ass, um, overthinking, analyzing their entire life to explain why the music they make is not quite what they would like it to be. And I think you wouldn't ever do anything if you weren't a perfectionist as an artist, because that's kind of the drive, the thing that drives you completely nuts is the reason you're able to, is the force that's pushing you to put out any music in the first place. Because if you're not a perfectionist, you're just gonna do what I did at 15, which is have fun and be in love with the music in a way, right? Like that's kind of nonsense, but makes sense in a little bit. In some ways, it makes sense. But so I had a conversation with Ayla Tesler Mabe, and I'll put that in a video someday. But 2 years ago, right after I hurt myself, and I was just trying to figure out, but so how did you do it? Because she's technically and expressively like much more fluent than I was, and maybe will ever be, and that's cool. And she was just saying like, I don't care about your metrics of like how many hours you play a day or anything like that. And I get that because she used that analogy of like video games, and I understand. Like when I was playing Minecraft, I was not counting how many hours a day I was playing, and it was not a goal for me to hit to play my 6 hours a day or something. I would never even think of that, and it was pretty much the opposite. I had trouble putting it down, right? And that's what she said her childhood was like. It was just like, or young teenagers, she played too much, and her parents were like, put it down, read a book or something. And that's how you should approach it, kind of like Bukowski way, right? Don't do it. If it's not pouring out of you, rushing like a unstoppable wave, don't do it. And I'm not, actually advising anyone to stop doing it, but it's just like that's the way it should feel. It should just happen because you love to do it. And did why did Jimi Hendrix do what he did? Because he loved it. Just the love of it is enough. And if there's another force in you calling for more, that's what you have to bargain with. That's what you have to approach rationally. The other parts don't, don't mess with the love you have for music. Just leave it alone. Leave it there. Let it do its thing. And I haven't failed. I really haven't failed at all. It's like it's so insane those comparisons because Like, who's really a success? Was Kurt Cobain a success? Is that a is that an outcome? Is that a favorable life outcome? Is that a success story? It's a suicide story. So it's like I have my own issues, physical and mental, both pretty shit. Not very life threatening, but just not pleasant to live with, and it's like why would you ever compare yourself to anybody when you know you have your specific challenges, when you know no one's ever walked in your shoes, and when you know that there's some things about you that are so lovable, you still wouldn't trade. Like I yesterday I really felt like I was a failure, and I still, and this is getting harder and harder to really truly feel, but I still would not trade my place right now because no one can do it. My songs, no one's ever gonna do anything out of them. No one would even understand the way that I record my demos. I'm gonna do it or no one will, and I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna do it with a knife on my throat. I'll do it whatever it takes. I'm absolutely going to do it because I have. In the last 2 years, the measurement of my failure has been like, oh, you haven't made as much music as you have before. But it's like, I still recorded everything though. I've written so many great songs. If I was gonna quit, I would have quit then. I went through some shit, man. I went through some shit. My hands didn't even work anymore. I was taking Xanax, I was taking painkillers, I was taking anti-inflammatories. I would take a painkiller, go for a nap, wake up an hour later, it still hurt without me doing anything. I had constant pain in my wrists. I had to make my friends vacuum my house, take out my garbage, do my laundry, cook for me. It was hell, and I still made music. I literally can't help myself. I keep like kind of hurting myself again because I just have to. I just have to pick up a guitar. Just have to pick up a piano. I lose my voice constantly because I just have to sing. So it's literally still pouring out of me. I'm never gonna stop doing it, and I'm gonna die trying if I have to. But it's like I'll just keep doing that stuff. I'm not a failure, and I wouldn't trade it. This thought started when I was 16 in my first prep class, and I was looking at the best math student in the class, and she would get these amazing grades, and I would be last every time, and I was just like, fuck this bitch, I don't want to be her. Like, what does it really mean to say, hey, I want to be a better student, I want to have better grades at math? Like, I just couldn't do it. It was not going to be me. So the only way to have better grades would be to change lives, and to become this girl. And I didn't want to do that because I want my songs. The only way I keep my songs is in this reality right here, because there's nothing else, right? It's not the most soothing idea, but it's like, I'm sorry, dude. If you want your songs, you're gonna have to stick around in this bullshit, and you're gonna have to clean it up. And it's progressively getting harder to accept that idea, but it's still worth it. Absolutely so. But who would I be? Do I want to be Jimi Hendrix? And same thing, die at 27? Like, he had some massive fun, but who are you to say he didn't need more? Like, what kind of crazy person wouldn't say, hey, no, sorry, that's not a desirable life. Even like, would I be John Frusciante? I've seen him live. He's starting to struggle a little bit. He has to stretch his hands a lot. His arms are just not very good looking. Must hurt a lot. I don't know if I want that. And sure, the bulk of his musical influence and music making was before. I think that I want to make music till I'm 80, and that's like this right here is the only way. So I'm not a failure. I should never have compared myself in the first place. I should have set straight goals that are impossible to set when you're 15 and you don't know better. And and then I've been wrestling with demons for a long time. So it's like it doesn't feel good to be here, but it's not so clear that there are other ways. So that's probably that's copium you can tell yourself if you're not doing so good. Please don't compare yourself to anyone, because it's not because my songs are good that I wouldn't trade my life for any other one. It's because they're mine. And so if you don't write songs but you're in love with your saxophone style, you can't trade your life either, because that style is yours. And it's sacred, and it's your identity, and it's your outlet, and it's like you gotta accept to take everything else for that, if that's what you really love. So just stick around, keep your lives, be in love with them, because they're the only ones you have. Yeah, good luck.